Coding challenge expert. Again, I'm going to select the challenge that we did yesterday because, some people struggle a bit with some questions. So let's have a quick look to what we have. First of all, hard switch. I'm happy to see that everybody solved this question here because essentially we did that on Monday. That means that some of you struggle to solve it, but you've been practicing and you solve it. So that's a really good thing. I'm very happy. I'm very proud of you in that respect, as well as many others, of course. And then let's do the second one, because both Gin and Gray struggled to solve it. So this was the main issue here, is to understand what the question is asking us to do, which is weird. It's a weird question. The code itself is super simple, but it's hard to understand the expectations. That may happen in real life. You may have a requirement, and maybe the code will be super simple, but you may struggle to understand what the question is asking us to do. So let's have a look to that particular problem. So we have an object with keys and values. We want to sum all the values. So in case of numbers and even strings, it's pretty easy, right? 2 plus 5. I'm sure we know how can we do it. That's the complicated part, functions. So why this returns 21? Because here you can assume, as the description says, that the options are, the object is processed in alphabetical order. So first we got 2, then we have 5. 2 plus 5, 7. And then the idea is we need to do 7 plus the result of invoking this function. So we need to pass 7 here. So if we pass 7 as the argument of the function, 7 multiplied by 2 is 14. So then it's 2 plus 5 plus 14 equals 21. This is a kind of a state machine where we iterate through the values, and then we need to check the type of the data, and depending on the type of the data, we'll do E, we'll do B, or we'll do A, we'll do B, or we'll do C. First of all, argument name. I don't know, I'm going to call it object, because I have no clue about what type of data. Is this about users, about documents? I have no idea. So let's keep it generic. If you don't know what we are talking about, it's better to do something abstract rather than put here people, for example. Why people? Doesn't make sense, right? You are sending a wrong message. So if you don't know the context, just keep it generic. Right, so then what I'm going to do is, how do we get the values of an object? Correct. So that will give us an array, in the first case, of 3 elements, right? 2, 5 pixels, and this function. Correct. And then, so I'm going to use for each. We could use, of course, reduce, but because I think for each here plays well because we want to iterate. So essentially, look, because we want to get the total, I'm going to have a variable total, and eventually I'll return the total. Oops. So then, for each, what's the argument of for each?
Whatever you want to call it. So
yep.
Value in.
Value? Yeah, that's fine. Value, right? So then, now this is the important thing. Now we need to evaluate the type of the value. So if something, whatever. Else, if something else, whatever else. Else, right? So in reality, here we do if something total equals total plus whatever. Else, if whatever, total equals total plus whatever. Else, total equals total plus whatever. Right? So how many data types do we have? 3. Which ones?
Number, string, and function.
Correct. Number, string, and function. Correct. So let's start with strings, for example. How do we check if value is a string or not? Capital.
And that changes it to a string. If type of.
Correct. Type of value, what?
There is string one?
String, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so here we know that to the total, now this line is, we are narrowing the problem. So if we got 5 pixels, how do we convert 5 pixels to a number?
Pass the internet.
Correct, this is very sexy, Tom. Parse int. Parse int, remember, that will strip the number from the string. So it will keep the numbers, and as soon as it detects not a number digit, not a number character, it will just abort, right? So okay, I think strings are quite nice. And then let's talk about numbers. How do we check if a value is a number? Correct. Equals what? Number. Easy, right? So then, how do we increase the total?
That's value.
Correct. It's easy, right? Actually, can we do that? Even simpler, right? Let me do the trick again. Oh, I love it. So, total plus value, easy. And then, this is a tricky one. But now, I'm sure everyone knows how to solve it. So else, so we have a function here. We could check if type of is function, of course, right? We could do that. But in that particular case, we know because this is the acceptance criteria that we got numbers, strings, and functions. So if it's not a number, if it's not a string, it's a function. So then, value is a function. What do we need to do here?
Okay.
Invoke it. With any argument on it?
Yeah, total.
Correct.
Makes sense.
That's it. That's it.
Easy.
Easy. That's actually, the complexity of the algorithm is an intermediate one. The only reason why this is an expert is because you need to think twice or thrice what is the guy asking us to do, right? That's the complexity. So will this work, yes or no? Okay.
No, bloody hell, I did it to the object error.
Wait.
Yeah, values.
Okay, what is the typo?
Right at the top.
You scare me.
Values, OJ.
Right, you got the typo, right? Hopefully now the errors are much clearer, right? Oh yeah, what's that? It's orange juice, exactly. Orange juice is not defined. Right, now it works. Do you want to solve it using reduce or are you okay with this?
I like that actually. I like
You like what?
that. I like that.
You like that one? Okay. Then let's leave it there. Let's see what Eugene and Osman did. Actually, look, both use reduce, which is, I think, I mean, don't get me wrong. And the only thing why I use for each is because I think it's super easy to follow, right? But in reality, I will have used reduce like both Eugene and Osman did, right? So, same thing, right? Object, well, not same thing. Look, Osman, out of curiosity, why are you using object.keys instead of object.values? I don't know. Okay. But, I mean, they are both equally. But, yeah, this is what we explained yesterday. It's compatibility. But again, nowadays, today, every browser is supporting it. The only browser that doesn't support it is Internet Explorer, right? Which is pretty much discontinued. By the way, probably you heard that Edge is also discontinued.
Yeah, there's a new one.
Yeah. So they're going to create a new one based on Chromium, which is the open source project that, you know, fits Chrome. Cool. So yeah, I mean, you both did the same thing, right? Eugene was he'd take extra caution, so he was a bit more conservative, checking his function, which is fine. Don't get me wrong, that's absolutely fine. Cool. So looking good. Cool. And then yeah, I want to do this one. Are numbers consecutive? We done that on the intermediate a minute ago, right? Oh, I'm clicking somewhere. So we've done the next one on the intermediate. The main difference is on the intermediate, you got an array of numbers, and here you have, yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. This is a bit more complicated, but that's pretty much the same strategy. So, and even we don't have the function name, right? Which is like, oh, really? Do I have to type it? Yes, you have to type it. So, function what? Are numbers consecutive? Argument name.
Number. It's a number.
It's a number.
You're going to change it to.
I'm going to call it numbers. Because even though technically speaking is less correct, I agree with you, Tom, this is a number, not a numbers. The function name is are numbers consecutive. Then, okay, give me the numbers. Just for consistency, right? So then, numbers. You can imagine that eventually we want to iterate and do the same thing we did before, right? But we cannot iterate yet because we have just a single number. So how do we deal with it?
Change it to a string.
To string, correct.
And split it.
Why you are not doing the expert already? You do all these things, right? Right, so let me return that before I forget. Return numbers, dot split. Any argument here?
Two.
Correct. So what will be the length of the array on the first example?
Does that work?
Can you split a number?
You have to turn it to a string first.
Correct, correct. You have to turn it to string first. No, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Split is not part of the prototype of numbers. So we need to use string. To string, sorry. To string. So then, after that, we have a string. And then after that, we have an array of how many characters? 5. Correct, correct. So then what?
Say he's lost.
Yeah.
So reduce it.
Then we reduce it. Right. And then, what's the default value?
A boolean.
Correct. Let's solve it in the same manner.
Or consecutive.
Well, yeah, but what's the are consecutive? Yeah, no, that's fine. Are consecutive. Cool. What's the default value?
True.
Correct. And then what? If whatever, return are consecutive, right? Are consecutive. So you see that now the only thing we have to do is be able to manage that if that condition. So if whatever, what? Yeah, I'll go there in a minute. But for now, if something goes wrong, are consecutive equals what? False, correct. And now the condition. So Marta said that we need to add what?
Current value.
Current value. Correct. Can we call it a string number? As a string, right? We need to compare, so careful with that. So, conditions.
Should we go for the end of the array?
Correct. I like that, Eugene. I like that. How do we check if we are at the end of the array? Index. Thank you, Marta. We got index. So then what? If what?
Index is not equal to
Index is not equal to
numbers dot length minus 1.
Okay, let's leave it there. And what? And how do we check if it's consecutive or not? Number, string number plus 1 is not. Thoughts?
Can I change my code?
Yeah, you can change. Okay.
Can I pass in another argument to reduce?
Can you explain why?
Because numbers is not an array.
Correct?
It is a number of 5 numbers, if you like. So therefore, we can't call numbers. Or could we call numbers? I don't know.
So it's an offset of array.
No, we couldn't call numbers. I don't think.
No.
No, because it's no. So yeah, pass the array argument in.
Right, that's a good point. The way to check if we're at the end of the array is we need to check against the array length. We got that. The problem is, how do we know the array length? It's not that easy, right? The array length is here. That's why the fourth argument is so useful now. Otherwise, we will have to create a variable, let splitted numbers equals that, and then, but we can make it everything in one go. Array. So then what else?
Change numbers if you get an error.
Anything else?
Yeah.
And what, Marta? Same thing, right?
Yeah, convert the string number to a number.
Correct. That's why you see string number. I mean, as I said, modern JavaScript will probably handle that, but it will break easily. As soon as we have a 2-digit number in all the different examples, that will break. So I think it's good to make sure number, yeah, number. Does it make sense? Will this work? Yes or no? Warnings? Yes or no? So stack trace, as you can see here. Nothing? No one?
Should work.
I think it should work as well. I'm not sure about the warnings because this to me is on the limit of getting 2 penalties, function length and in terms of number of statements, and then the length of line number 8 is a bit on the limit as well. Well, we'll see. I mean, that's fine. If it works, we're not going to get any penalty. All good, right? All good. So, any question? No? Okay, so let me check what you did here. So this was question number 1, I think it's 3, right? If I'm correct. Question number 3, anonymous consecutive. So again, so she's looping on the array. And if the, so, okay, that's interesting. That's a different approach. So what she's doing is, she's looping on the array. And then, if the numbers are consecutive, then she pushes the element to the array. So then she's comparing. If the original array has the same size than the results, then the numbers will be consecutive. Right? Let me copy that because that's interesting. So let me see. Oh, let me see what can we do with this. So let's paste it, and then let's try it. It works, obviously.
Extra spaces.
Extra spaces. Yeah, at the moment, yeah, that's true. That's true. I'll change the algorithm. We shouldn't have extra spaces, but for now it's okay. So that's fine. So again, GIN is on the limit to get a penalty on the line length, especially on line number 11. How can we simplify line number 11? Say it again? Return false.
No, delete false.
Ah, delete. What, that? Correct. So that's the same thing in, right? So if that expression returns true, your algorithm will return true. Still works, even simpler. Something interesting as well is that in reality, so even though the strategy is smart, right? It's completely different to what we did, and that's of course valid. At the end, so I really like that, but at the end, suddenly, there's something I don't like. I really don't like -1. I will have to invest a couple of minutes of my life trying to understand why -1. Can you explain that again?
Because we start.
Because we start what?
Because we add like an extra. No, because the array is longer than our result because we start from first element. I don't know.
You're comparing distinct pairs, aren't you?
Yeah,
So within
yeah,
the
yes.
3
Yes,
numbers
but
is only
one.
2 distinct pairs.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. And also, I have a question about that. Let me have a look. Just wondering, I want to see the console log of result.
You can be constant.
I don't know. Looks like yes, you
1,
can.
2, 3, 4. Yeah, misses it.
Hmm. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So because we're comparing a number against the next one, will there be any difference of putting a -1 here? So in other words, what happened on the last iteration, right? You see the problem, right? I mean, it's okay because they won't be different, so it's not going to alter the result. But again, this is a bit controversial because on the last iteration, on the first example, I will be, I think, 4, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we'll do, hey, what's in array 4? 5. Is 5 plus 1, 6 equals undefined? You know. So can we do that? I think that will be safer, right? Yeah, and it still works. Cool. Yep. Apart from that, yeah, I like it. It's very elegant. And then gray. So gray is using something similar. Instead of correct. It's very, very similar. Instead of pushing an array, he just pushing a counter because he initialized the counter to 1, which is but it's the same, right? So he doesn't do the trick at the end, but he has to do the trick at the beginning. But yeah, okay, cool. And Osman didn't work, and yeah, I don't know why, to be honest. Right, so I'm not going to solve the initial bus passengers because we did that last week. So if Osman and Eugene, please check the, I think last Friday challenge we explained how to do it. So please have a look, and if you have any question, let me know. Anything else, guys?
What was question 4?
Question 4. So question 4, yeah, but everyone solved it. That's why yeah. So question 4 was get capital consonants, right? So we have a list of yeah. We have a list of words, and we want to find the capital consonants.
Didn't take very long.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Gim did. So they both. That's a good thing. They both did a similar thing, but Gim's solution is less error prone than Gray's solution because Gim had to just put A and Z, but Gray could have easily forgot to put H, for example, right? So he had to type more to get the same result. Then, yep. You see Osman's solution. That's interesting. Didn't you get any penalty here, Osman? Sorry, Eugene, not Osman. Yes, sorry about that. That's interesting. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Try to separate everything.
Yep.
And then taking account of spaces because the spaces will give you problems as well.
Yeah. Okay. No, interesting. Cool. Yeah, it's good to see different coding styles because this is a good way to learn. Even though you are all right, everyone has done something radically, or not radically, but everyone has done something different, right? So please, even if you know how to do it, look at what your colleagues did. So for example, for Gray, it's obvious, but even though this is very elegant, next time try to use that pattern, right? So, cool. Any question, guys? No? Osman? No? Back to the podium on Monday? Yeah? Okay, cool. Thank you, guys. Thanks for watching.